Welcome back. I'm Austin Westfall. Well, it's been a long and sometimes confusing week relating to tariffs. The week began with President Trump implementing new tariffs against our top trade partners, Canada, Mexico, and China. Then we learned the president would delay tariffs related to automakers. And then we learned he's delaying tariffs on many imports from Mexico and some imports from Canada until April. Now today, the president says he could soon impose new tariffs on Canadian lumber and dairy products. This has been something we've been doing our best to track all week. You're looking at a live look at Calgary, Canada, by the way, Cowtown, as they call it there. We're joined by Melanie Nuce-Hilton. She's a global supply chain expert and the Senior Vice President of Customer Success at GS1 US. Thanks for coming on. A lot of back and forth going on here, Melanie. Who is impacted most by the uncertainty? The markets have certainly felt it. We've seen that reflected on the stock market. But what have you heard about how it's impacting businesses and consumers?
Well, in the immediate term, businesses are definitely feeling the effects of the volatility. Supply chains are a delicate dance of sourcing the right ingredients and raw materials, designing and producing the perfect product, and then delivering it through a complex web of transportation and logistics to put it in the hands of a consumer. So the disruption felt by businesses about where are they going to get products, how are they going to get them to consumers, has been extremely painful. And as businesses consider whether they might relocate a portion or all of their operations, the expense and the lead time of up to 5 to 10 years can feel pretty daunting. Additionally, Austin, in the long term, anything that adds to the cost of goods sold is going to be felt by the consumer as well.
So President Trump says Canada has been, quote, ripping the U.S. off for years on lumber and on dairy products. He says Canada has roughly 250% tariffs on U.S. dairy exports to the country. President Trump has said America would match those tariffs dollar for dollar. Why is there a 250% tariff on dairy to begin with? Is it common for certain goods to have such a steep tax?
Well, it's interesting because the 241% tariff cap on dairy is really based on a sliding scale of export quota. So as the U.S. exports dairy to Canada, the tariff percentage increases. However, we have not reached the levels of that 250% in many years with Canada. And this is probably also likely due to policies that Canada has enacted to protect its own domestic dairy industry. So it may feel exorbitant, but it probably hasn't really impacted businesses in the U.S. in many years due to a variety of factors.
Let's talk about steel and aluminum. What's an example of something that might be affected by the steel and aluminum tariff that is still expected to go ahead on March 12th?
Well, I think we're still trying to figure out what that might be. Although I would say, at a minimum, packaging for a lot of products, in addition to your heavy industries, manufacturing, machinery, auto. While the auto industry has been given exemption, there are probably many other industries where those materials are a component that are used in industry. Everything from beverage cans, fruits and vegetables that are delivered in aluminum cans, as well as other industries that rely on infrastructure and equipment that uses those types of commodities.
So what can consumers expect to see with tariffs still full steam ahead on China? From what I've read, those are still going into effect, correct?
Yes, and there have been some other changes made to like to de minimis shipments that have often kind of gone under the radar from an import perspective. So I think there are multiple factors at play right here that consumers are likely to see some shift. And I would guess it's primarily going to be on the businesses that are making offers to consumers of certain products that may change the approach in terms of the assortment they offer, the size or the variety of product being offered based on what becomes more expensive for the business to deliver.
Just a personal question for you working at GS1. What's it like this week following all this news? How are you keeping track of it all?
It's been a minute by minute kind of, you're stressed and then you feel that relief, the pressure relief. But I think the reality is because of the volatility that we've seen, nobody really knows how to predict what's going to happen next. And I think that's been the most frustrating because we're a member organization and all of these consumer product companies rely on us to provide guidance around how to improve supply chain operations. And we're scratching our heads trying to figure out how do we give you the best support that we can when we're not even sure what might happen from day to day.
Thanks for coming on, Melanie. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, you too.